Well, good day and welcome to another episode of Lanark County Confidential. I'm your host, Mike Lynch Staunton, and this is number 34. Today, we're going to be talking about a bunch of new products that I got in, and I got a couple of questions. But Lanark County Confidential is a production of MLS Outdoor Media, and being produced in the studios at Franktown, Ontario, which is the lilac capital of Ontario as well, too. Being broadcast on Reno Viola Outdoors Radio Network, WRVO, as well as on Spreaker, iTunes, and on Facebook. Well, I throw the podcast in on Facebook as well, too. So, today's podcast is sponsored by Rusty's Tackle Shack at 1558 Richmond Road, Franktown, Ontario, 613-207-0286. Exclusive gambler dealer. The largest selection of gambler lures in Ontario, I'd say. Probably North America. Not North America. I shouldn't say North America. That's being a bit arrogant. Definitely Ontario, anyways. Also, home of custom rod building, rod and reel repair, and if you want to book a day with In the Zone Guide Service, put you on some good fish in the Lanark County area, even Big Rito and stuff like that, places like that. So, so let's get at her today. Talking about having, like I say, this show is going to be on. I got the Gambler Big Easy, or I've had Big Easies in for a while, but I got their Duz-It worm in it, or their Duz-It hook in, and I have the burner worm and the swim jig in, the new heavy cover swim jig, which is pretty neat. I like it. It's a nice jig. Where are we at this point? Let's go see. Okay, I got a couple of questions here from. It was neat that after the last episode, sort of generated a whole bunch of questions. So, ultra point hook. There we go. Let's see here. This question comes from a listener in Verona named Brett, and he just got his boat back. I get this. This is the reason I picked this question is because I get it a lot every year. It sort of happens that people get their boats out and they work good for a bit, and then something happens. So, and it's usually because it wasn't looked at, or I'm not saying it wasn't looked at. A lot of times when you get it winterized, they're just winterizing the motor and they're not looking at anything else. So a lot of stuff goes just is overlooked. It's not anybody's fault. It's just that's just what it happens. So, what Brett's saying is he charges batteries, and this is a starting battery. Went out in the day, and was driving around, and by the time, I'm just paraphrasing it because it was a long letter. By the time he got to the end of the day, or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, from with his graphs on and playing his radio and just stopping and starting and running back and forth with little running time, from what I can imagine, from what he described. He got to about 3 o'clock, he said, and the battery was pretty much dead. Well, it would slowly turn the motor over, and then it died on him eventually. And he was wondering whether it's his charging system or whether it's something else. And I used to run into this a lot when you're doing a lot of boats, doing in big dealerships and storing a lot of boats, and what would happen is the guy would come in, his battery would be marginal, you'd fire the thing up, and then you'd throw it into storage, and over the wintertime, the battery would discharge, and it would freeze on, those minus 40 degree days. Come the springtime, the guys would pull it out, they'd charge the battery because a lot of them would be discharged, and because they're not running around, what we would do was we would just disconnect the ground and leave the battery in the boat. It was just too difficult if you have 100 boats, it's just too difficult to to take care of and administrate 100 batteries, because guys would be taking them and using them over the winter time for certain things. So, and then you don't know whose battery, they would be mislabeled. So eventually we just left them in the boats, just disconnected the grounds, and then deal with it in the springtime. But what I eventually started doing in my own business was to load test the battery in the fall time, just to check the condition, and then I'd mark on the work order whether it was fair, medium, or great. And usually the fair batteries would be dead by the springtime, or they'd have such a minimal charge in it they wouldn't last the season anyway. So I just tell my customers at that point, you're probably going to be looking at a battery midway through the season. If you want me to change it now, I'll definitely change it now for you. So, and they would opt obviously to change it at that beginning of the season. It just makes more sense. So it's just I doubt very much your charging system is bad, but have it checked anyways. But I would have to say the first thing I would do is I would fully charge the battery again, check the water level in it after it's charged. If it needs to be adjusted, adjust it with distilled water, charge it again, and then load test it. And then once then you determine the state of the battery, but don't start making decisions until you know how good the battery is. But it's just, like I say, it's a common thing that happens at the beginning of the season. One of the things that's happening here is probably lack of maintenance. Well, the other thing you got to do as well too is you got to clean your battery terminals as well too. At the beginning of the season, always clean your battery terminals if the dealership hasn't done it for you. A lot of dealerships won't do it. It's not in their tune-up procedures, so it just goes. A lot of places won't even look at the battery. As long as the thing turns over, they won't even look at the connections or anything. So, do your homework. Ask the guys to clean the connections. Make sure they're secure. Wing nuts are not the way to secure battery cables to a battery these days. I know in my interstate batteries, they stopped delivering batteries with wing nuts on them a couple of years ago. Now it's nuts, and so you have to make sure it's secure, especially in today's cars. That's what they're finding, is bad grounds and bad connections are causing problems with the computers on the cars. So they've gone to a more secure way of doing it, and that's what you're going to have to do. So just to briefly, I'll go over that. Before you go too far, load test the battery. Make sure the battery is in good condition, and then stay up your maintenance of your battery, your cables, and stuff like that. So, and if you need a battery, interstate. I've never had a problem with my interstate batteries. Knock on wood. So, question number 2 is, I got a lady coming, sending me, this is Margaret. And just from the sound of the letter, she's an older lady whose husband's getting older. They still like to fish. They've got this was a cute letter. She's got a 1975 9.5 Evinrude, and they've had it serviced and winterized every year, and it's been giving them very, very good service. In fact, she got it from her parents, so it's been obviously well used. It's been a cottage motor, so 75, 85, 95, 2000, we're talking 40 years almost here. So, and they're wondering, it's getting harder and harder for her husband to start it, and they're wondering what they should do because they like the motor just because of the weight. I remember these 9.5s; they were a light little motor, about 60 pounds, and then the 9.9 came out in '76, and it was about 75 pounds. So a lot of people like the 9.5s, but it's with anything, it's slowly, the more wear and tear on it, sooner or later something's going to have to give. And so what I would suggest, Margaret, is, and she doesn't want to, Yes, the infamous lost internet signal again. So sorry about that. But okay, Margaret, what I'd be doing, I would be taking it to a dealership, and the first thing I would do is get them to do a leak down test. Or sorry, not a leak down. I'm getting confused here because I put in my notes here. This is the. She had mentioned that she was going to take it in and get a leak down test in. A leak down test is good for 4-stroke. It's going to tell you much on a 2-stroke because it's designed to tell you whether your valve and valve seals and oil rings in the 4-stroke are good. So seeing that a 2-stroke doesn't have those, compression check is going to be what's going to tell you how well that engine's going to suck air in more than anything, and do the compression check with the throttle plates open. So anyway, I know, Margaret, you're not going to do this, but make sure that when they do the compression check, they do it the proper way, because that's going to tell you how. From what I gather on this, it's getting old and it's having a hard time withdrawing, even though it's a downdraft carburetor on it. It's having a harder time pulling in air fuel at an idle, or at lower RPM. So what's happening is the piston cylinder wall is getting clearance is getting excessive, and it's not creating as much of a suction there or a tight fit. And what's happening is it's not pulling as much air and fuel in every time it makes one revolution. Thus, it's not wanting to start easily, and it's not wanting to. It's probably hard to idle or lower. It probably won't idle lower and stuff like that too as they get older. So, get them to do a compression check on those. It's not easy to check the cylinder bore because of just the way it's mounted in with the covers and stuff. So, but if they can get a bore scope in there to take a look at the bore, see if it's scored or not. If it is scored, then you're pretty much looking at a new or a used motor. I mean, obviously you don't want anything too big and heavy, considering the condition of your husband and stuff. So, look around for a used 2-stroke or something like that. I'm sure you'll be able to find something 20 years old at least, anyways. And you're gonna have to go from there. But make sure they do a proper compression check on it. And a leak down test isn't going to tell you much. It's leak down is mainly for 4-stroke engine. So, okay. That being said, on to the next one, which is new Gambler products. Yeah, I got my Christmas came early yesterday. The courier guy showed up, and he had 2 big packages for me. The first one, where did I put them? The first one has the burner worms and the swim jigs, and I got to say it's there it is. Okay, what I did was I rigged up the burner worm on the swim jig because I think I'm going to be throwing something like this weekend. Swim jigs I'm starting to throw a lot more swim jigs because I've just found them very, very versatile, and I've, in the last couple of years, been catching a lot of fish on them. Depending on how you want to set your trailers up, you can go from Senkos to worms to burner worms to I do twin tails on them. I got myself last year big ass muskie on it, little 7/16 black blue Gambler swim jig with a twin tail trailer, and it was an awesome. I throw it a lot just to cover water and stuff. So in my little arsenal of going out and finding fish, I've got certain rods rigged up, and one of the first ones I always have rigged up is the Big Easy. I can rig it one or two ways. I can just rig it on a straight or a wide gap hook, and I got got some lane toad color in, because to me that's like a bluegill. It's like a bluegill rock bass color. So it's a darker color. So And these things have got some heft to them, so you can cast them on an unweighted hook pretty far. You can cover a lot of water with them on a quick period of time. And the way that the tail is shaped and the segmented body in it, that tail has a lot of action. And because of the paddle tail on it, it's not I guess sort of a wedge tail on it. It beats the water to a little froth. So to me, I liken it to a buzzbait. So I've always said to my customers and to the guys that I take fishing on my boat that this to me is an ultimate search bait, because you can do 3 different things with it. You can swim it like a spinner bait. You can swim it like a buzz bait. Or you can fire the thing out and vertical jig, or you can hop it on the bottom type thing, like a vertical jig type thing. So it's and then you combine it with the Duz-It hook, and you've got even more flash to it. So it's a very, very versatile bait if you're looking for something to find fish, to cover water real fast. And it does shallow to deep very well, because I've taken this out in 16 feet of water, thrown it out on the deep weed line, let it go down with the Duz-It hook on it, and then cranked it along the weed line like it's a spinner bait, and got some good fish. So the other thing that I've done as well is in the fall time, gone out into deeper water and vertical jig this for smallmouth, and last fall it worked very well. So I'm really glad they came out with that Duz-It hook, because it gives it just a bit more distinction to the bait over all the other swim baits that are out there and all the swim baits. I think, to me, a lot of fish see the same thing over and over and over again. They can get somewhat conditioned to it. So if something has a bit of variation, or it's a bit different, it's slightly different, it could be a jig with a bit of orange to it in a green pumpkin color, rather than just being a green pumpkin color. Or in the swim jigs here, they have a blue-black, but they also have a blue-purple, which has a little tinge of purple in it, which is nice, because on some bodies of water, that purple actually makes a big difference. I know in Big Rito it does. So if you're looking for swim jigs, or you're looking for big easies, give me a buzz, drop me a line, or come by the shop, and I've got a bunch of them in stock right now. So, and then the next thing that I want to talk about is the burner worm, because this, to me, is it's going to be something that a lot of guys are going to throw on days when, say, Senkos don't work. And there are days when I've been out there and I've thrown Senkos and they won't even touch a Senko, but I can throw a Big Easy out and they'll rush a Big Easy, but they won't nail it. So the burner worm is I think they came up with this because anybody that knows Gambler a lot has fished their what am I looking for? Their paddle tails, not their paddle tails, but their flap and shots. Okay, so anybody who's fished a flap and shot and has gone and has known Gambler well and has gone to their website, they know that they had a pro tip on there, and it's been a lot of guys have known this for years and years and years. What you do is you take that tail and you slice into that tail on say a 45-degree angle, and that opens the tail up a bit. Now, even guys were taking hole punches and punching holes in it just so it didn't rip as easily. But what we were doing was, I've been doing it for years, is taking a flap and shot and just cut a little slit into the tail on an angle going up towards the back end of the tail. And if you go on a Gambler's website, you'll see the pros tip there as well for this. But what they've done is they've taken a worm, and it's the same Gambler, same mold style as their crawdaddies, and they've made a worm out of that. It's a beefy worm. It's a 7-inch worm, and they've beefed up the tail, and they've actually put that slit into the tail. And I'm chomping at the bits to go throw that this weekend to see exactly how it works. I think on the days when they won't hit the Senko, You're going to be able to throw this thing out, and on a Texas rigged hook, you're going to be able to do very, very well with it. The slice in the tail, I think, is going to give it a lot more action than just the normal paddle tail or just the normal ribbon tail that a lot of the worms have out there as well too. So give it a try. If you need some, like I say, I've got a whole bunch in stock now, and I think this is going to be, you put that, well, like I said, what I got right now is I've got it rigged up on I got a 1/2 ounce heavy cover creek cross swim jig, and I've got a burner worm, a Copperfield burner worm on it, and I'm going to be throwing that this weekend. See how that goes. This to me is going to be a pretty cool setup, especially in the weeds. So, and that's what it's designed for. It's designed to go through the weeds, especially these heavy cover jigs. They've got a big badass. They have, what's it called here? I was just there. It's an ultra point hook. So they've got a big 6/0 ultra point hook on them. They've got a recessed eye. It's painted red. They've got the eyes. The skirts are really nice. So it's a star flash skirt. So it's really, really well made with a heavier weed guard on it. So it'll go through the thick cover well. Give it a try. You may be surprised what swim jigs can do for you. So, okay, we're getting on there. Almost done today. A couple more minutes. What I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to pick my best lake, because bass season opens this weekend. It's Zone 18. Is that what we're in? Zone 18? I think that's what we are in. Yes. And so, and 12. 20 is close, 17 is close, 15 is close. But I'm in 18 predominantly, so I'm not going to tell you the lake I'm going to go to. I'm going to try a new lake this year, opening season, like I did last year. I did try Christie Lake last year. It was okay. Actually, it was good because I caught some walleye, which was surprising. So, but there's going to be a few tournaments out there this weekend. I know Ottawa River Lefebvre, there's always one opening weekend. It's fun to do. It's a charity, so if you got something to, if you're looking for a tournament to do, that's the one I would suggest you go try and do. But I'm going to be throwing big easies, my swim jigs, a couple of spinnerbaits and crankbaits probably if they're active. I'm going to try buzzbait first off. I think if I go, they're going to be shallow too, probably still with this weather. So first thing I'd go in and do, I'd try a buzzbait, see how that works. That doesn't work, then I'd be trying to slow down and like even an ace. Going to try that, see what that does. Or I'm going to, like I say, I'm going to take the swim jigs and throw twin tails on it. And the nice thing about swim jig is, or you can put a cricket on it. That's the other thing I'm looking at. There's little BB crickets are a cute little addition. But the one thing about the swim jig I like about it is because of its compact sizes, you can fire that thing out, and even though it's a swim jig, you can hop it like a regular jig, or you can pitch it as well too, because the 1/2 ounce ones have got enough weight to them that you can pitch them. So. And if I don't find anything shallow, I'm going to start moving out to 6 to 8 foot of water, and that's probably when I'm going to be throwing the burner worm, and I'll be throwing the aces. I even got some fat aces, which is a bit heavier than a normal ace, so it's going to drop a bit quicker. It's all going to be dependent on how they feel. With the weather that we've had, they should be pretty active. I would imagine that they're going to be. The bigger ones should be back to feeding some. If you find them all shallow, well, they may not be. So, but check your water temperatures. The first thing I'd say is to make sure that they're going to be keying on what the water temperature is going to be telling them. So, if you don't find them shallow, like I say, you're going to have to start moving out into the deeper water and see what happens. And I'm just predominantly looking for largemouth, so I'm going to start on the all the bays on the North Shore, and if it doesn't work in shallow water, then I'm going to start moving out to 6 to 8 foot, find some weeds, find some emergent weeds and stuff like that. see how that works, and we'll go from there. So it's going to be trial and error, but it's going to be one of those things. That's what I like about opening day is you never know. Sometimes fish they haven't set up in patterns, and it's all it's new. So sometimes it's pretty predictable. I'm picking a new lake, so to me it's going to be all new for me. But it will, like I say, the first thing is I'm going to key on is the water temperature. So anyhow, bit of a sad news in the area, so always wear your PFDs. Always be safe out there, and make sure that if you have other people in the boat, that they've got their flotation devices on as well. So, anyways, I'm out of here. Bye. See you next time.